All right, peeps. On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be reviewing the top 10 Bruce Lee real fight nobody knows. Lots of gems, lots of fights nobody knows, and lots of, did you know Bruce Lee fought Wong Jack Man? Let's get to it.
And every day I practice martial arts. Watch out!
Yo, Dre, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Sifu. Just got back from an interesting event tonight.
Yeah, we saw the Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. Yes.
And as you know, Dre, by the time this video comes out, that's going to sound really old and dated.
I get it.
So thanks for starting us off that great. And as you know what it means when we're sitting next to each other. It means we're going to do another review video.
Review something. Yeah.
We recently tried to do a review video. And we ended up failing miserably because I went on a full diatribe about Bruce Lee's abilities as a real fighter. We were going to review the Bruce Lee Real Fight channel, which we've done before. Uh-huh. We were going to discuss some of the videos and, whether it's bullshit or not. And spoiler alerts, about 50% bullshit. And then we started.
He's no Beerdy.
And then I just went off like on this whole tangent. And then we ended up not actually having a proper episode on the Bruce Lee Real Fight channel. Right. So here we are again. So we'll try it. Who knows if I'll just end up having another diatribe and we'll end up failing miserably.
Okay. We going back to the whole Deadpool Wolverine thing.
Yeah.
We're actually missing an opportunity here because knowing that this won't come out for say another month and a half,
right?
We can spoil it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's only because at this point, it's only been out for 2 days, right? Mm-hmm. But so we shouldn't be spoiling it, but we can spoil it knowing it's not.
That they have all these extra Marvel characters in there, like Shang-Chi, but actually with the CGI of Bruce Lee's face.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
That was cool.
That's right. It's gonna be amazing. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. It'll be old news by the time this comes out.
Yeah, they brought Lou Ferrigno back as the Hulk.
Yes. Oh, that was great. That was wild. And Bill Bixby.
That's right. Yes.
Instead of David Banner, Bill Bixby.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was fun.
They brought him back from the dead.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we get started, the best way to support the Kung Fu Genius is on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Kung Fu Genius for all your Kung Fu Genius needs. You can support us for as little as $5 a month, or you can even go up to higher levels of support. And we have all sorts of goodies there. If you do not want to support us on Patreon, you can support us right here on YouTube through our various memberships, which include at the highest tier, secret super duper videos, which are only for the cool kids. So anyway, with that out of the way,
okay.
Hopefully I can stay on target. I remember in Star Wars, stay on target. Right. And we're going to review some videos from the Bruce Lee Real Fight channel. Now, we've done this before. Mm-hmm. All right. We did another video on his, and unlike he who shall not be mentioned, the bearded one, Bruce Lee Real Fight channel tends to, whereas Beerdy will just straight up make up fantasies whole
on
cloth.
The fly.
Yeah, like he's the kind of turd who would make up a name like Chong-Itsu and say that guy had murdered Bruce Lee.
Chong-Itsu.
Yeah, and you know what's so great? Mikey's smiling at me because that is an episode that Mikey and I recorded, which you have not seen yet. So you won't even know that we're actually talking about something there. For our viewers who watch all of our episodes, but by the time this one comes out, you should have heard of the notorious murderer of Bruce Lee, named Chong-Itsu. So anyway, Bruce Lee Real Fight channel, again, like the bearded one, it's a faceless expert. He's such a Bruce Lee expert, but can't show his face.
Okay.
He's got kind of very monotone, very unexciting kind of way of speaking.
Mm-hmm. His icon is a Bruce Lee photo.
Yes. Well, and he has damn near 700,000 followers.
Yes.
So, of course, as people who try to provide good Bruce Lee content, it's always weird when it's weird because there is a dark side of the force when it comes to YouTube. It's like, why are we spending time trying to have serious conversations about Bruce Lee, give out serious information?
You can easily just go to the dark side.
When we could I could just make a video where I repurpose Bruce Lee clips. Yeah. Tell stuff about Bruce Lee that's like no deeper than a Wikipedia level entry about Bruce Lee, mixed in with some speculation, mixed in with some kind of made up shit.
Yeah.
And put that on YouTube, make a 10-minute video, and then voila, we're going to have nearly 1 million subscribers based on that. And of course, not show our faces or have any accountability for what we say on video, right?
That's the way to go.
That's the way to go. Why are we trying to do all this with like showing our faces and being accountable and shit? And having people like Bruce Lee biographers on our channel where we could literally just make up Bruce Lee shit and all these people would love it.
And won't have to be held accountable.
Real fight, unlike the bearded one, he kind of mixes. He's kind of like 50-50.
Yeah.
He'll show something that's real. And then
that's the tactic.
And then he'll make some shit up.
Yeah.
And then he's very good with the clickbait titles. And he'll say like, 10, for example, one of the videos that we're going to review today, top 10 Bruce Lee real fights nobody knows. And when you sip through it, like half of them are things you've already heard of.
Okay.
And the other half are kind of made up and a little, let's say, fudged. All right. So the first one we're going to watch here is from the Bruce Lee Real Fight channel. It is called the Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight Nobody Knows. Not real fights nobody knows.
Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight.
Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight Nobody knows.
Fight.
Okay?
Nobody knows. Not
and
fights.
Dude, this has
one fight.
46,000 likes.
Yes.
It has 4 million views.
Yes.
And it is a complete dumpster fire. All right. Hey everyone, it's the Kung Fu Genius. Fans and practitioners all know that the wooden dummy is the most coveted tool in Wing Chun, and now you can learn all about it in my cleverly titled book, The Wooden Dummy. I wrote this guide with you, the practitioner, in mind. Rather than mystifying any of the concepts or hiding so-called secrets, I've laid it all out in meticulous detail. The book is contextualized for practitioners of any lineage of the art, not just those who come from WT. Over 300 pages in length, The Wooden Dummy breaks down every aspect from the form, technical, historical, theoretical details, and it makes it the perfect companion for anyone who's learning the wooden dummy techniques. I've even sweetened the deal for you. If you want to get a copy of this book signed by me, just use the coupon code SIGNATURE when you purchase the unsigned copy, and you will get the signed copy at no additional cost. So go to the link below or go to citywingchun.com/shop. Look up the Wooden Dummy book. Don't miss your chance. This is definitely one of the best books I've ever written on the wooden dummy, and I hope you'll find it's the best book ever written on the wooden dummy. Get yours today. Check it out. So here we go. Let's see if this guy knows stuff I don't know.
Welcome to Bruce Lee Real Fight channel.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Bruce Lee Real Fight channel.
Happy to be
nice
here.
Today we are going to talk about 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight nobody knows.
He even said it.
Even said it.
A real fight.
Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight no one knows.
Oh, man.
Many people often ask, can Bruce Lee fight
Was that a
for
real fight right there?
Yeah.
Is he the real deal or fake? Was
Damn,
he
he
just
beat
an
that guy's
actor
ass.
or a real martial artist?
I love this photo of Bruce Lee, by the way.
Yeah, it's in front of Golden Harvest Studios. You know what? You know what's funny? He does kind of a little bit of the Beerdy thing, although he doesn't go quite to the level of Beerdy, where Beerdy would say, "People always ask me about Bruce Lee's death, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is always asking me, Beerdy,
Everyone
how
goes to
did
him.
Bruce Lee die? It was chicken, water, and rice."
Yeah.
So
Right.
Bruce Lee Real Fight doesn't quite say there's just so many people, right? All right. And
Some
then-
people also said that Bruce Lee never had a real fight.
Who are
so
these
he
people?
won't be a good fighter.
You know,
We have
some
done
people
the
say
research
that.
and
I think almost everyone on the planet had a real fight at one point of their
Yes, but I
existence.
like it. It was like some people said Bruce Lee never had a real fight.
Mhm.
So how can he fight? The
gathered
logic is
some of
there.
the unknown fights of Bruce Lee outside of movies. We also gathered the fights Bruce had before he became an actor. If you are doubting Bruce Lee's ability to go
By the way, he was an actor before he was a martial artist. But you know, facts.
for a real fight, let's just go through this video together and you will find the answers you want.
That's called confirmation bias, to find the answers that you want.
Ah.
How about
That
you
is
find the
the-
answers?
the
You will find the
meaning
answers
of it.
that you want. So saying
Right.
like if you think Bruce Lee never had any real fights,
Right.
that'll be the answer you want. That'll be what you hear at the end.
not-
If you think Bruce Lee had all the fights, that'll
Yeah.
be the end. Which actually, to be fair, that is
Right.
kind of true, because the people who believe that Bruce Lee never had any real fights are not going to believe anything anyway. And the
These are
people
the
who,
answers you don't want.
yeah, so it's like
Right.
actually that was a very philosophical statement. You know what? We don't give Bruce Lee Real Fight Channel enough credit. He's
Right.
like, You will watch this video, and at the end, you will have the answer you want.
Yes.
You're kind of right. I think most people already made up their mind on the topic before they saw the video, and
that's what makes him a step above Beerdy.
Yeah. He's like Krishnamurti level philosophy here. Okay, here we go.
Real fight number 1. Bruce Lee versus Sammo Hung.
Oh, here we go.
People who love Kung Fu, Wushu, or any kinds of...
I think this guy's a Mandarin speaker.
How did you know?
You know why?
How?
Because when he said Wushu, he said it with the Mandarin tones. And if he didn't speak, he would just said Wushu, like everyone else. But he goes, which is, I believe, a third tone in Mandarin, Shu, which is a fourth tone. He said it there. So I think this guy is a Mandarin speaker.
Okay.
Martial arts should know who Sammo Hung is. Sammo Hung was born in 1952, 12 years younger than Bruce Lee. He is a Hong Kong martial artist and has been a fight choreographer for other popular action actors such as Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Yuan Biao, and others. Sammo Hung.
Yeah, and the way he said Biao, he's definitely a Mandarin speaker.
Mandarin.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously they speak Mandarin in mainland China, but there are other countries where, Malaysia, the other countries will also speak Mandarin Chinese. But yes, he at least is a little easier to figure out than who the hell Beerdy is, right? But notice that this is a video that gets 4 million views. It's just him talking about Sammo Hung's basic biography and showing these still shots. It's like we are way overthinking it.
I hope he's not trying to say that these photos are from Sammo Hung and Bruce Lee's real fight.
No, I don't think he's saying that because obviously these are from the film. But I mean, you never underestimate how stupid people are.
Talks about the fight between him and Bruce Lee to the media for a couple times. He said he was going to kick Bruce Lee when both of them are in fighting stances. However, Bruce Lee's leg is already on his head before he was able to even raise his leg.
So, actually, there is some truth to this story. Okay. First of all, Sammo Hung has actually indeed told this story.
Okay.
And this was before they obviously worked together. And it was kind of one of those like meeting at Golden Harvest office and like, hey, are you really as fast as they say you are? Yeah, you want to come try it out? Oh, yeah, come here. And then Bruce kind of just threw his kick really fast and kind of touched Sammo there.
Right.
Sammo retold the story. And then Bobby Samuels, who's been on this podcast before, in season 1, I did an interview with Bobby Samuels. He's done a bunch of films in Hong Kong. He's the first and probably only African-American to be inducted into the Hong Kong Stuntman Association.
Nice.
And he told me that Sammo told him this story, and Sammo just said how fast Bruce was and that it was incredible. Sammo told the story multiple times. So there is absolutely something there. The problem is,
it wasn't a real fight.
I mean, to call it a fight is a little bit of a stretch. And I mean that is no disrespect to Bruce Lee.
To me, it seems like it was just Sammo asking a question and Bruce Lee answering the question in a very physical way.
Yeah, but it's also just like, it's also kind of like mucking around.
Yeah.
For me, a fight is like, I want to physically do you in.
I want to do harm to you.
Or the guy's trying to physically do me in and I need to really defend myself. But like kind of like the way people might play some Chiu-A or try to block my punch or something like that with the punch still has controlled force. To call it a fight is definitely an exaggeration.
Okay.
Sammo Hung admits to it. He told it privately to people that I know. I have no reason to doubt that an incident that could be described in this way had happened. But to call it a fight, I think is a little bit of a stretch. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. All right.
We scrub it.
Fight number 2. Bruce Lee versus Taky Kimura.
Ooh. Bruce Lee versus Taky Kimura. Now, again, we're talking about real fights, okay? And right now, he's showing footage from the Long Beach Internationals demonstration in which he was doing some Chiu-A-based sparring with his student,
but this
Taky
is
Kimura.
Not a real fight.
Yeah, but I mean, to then say that this is real fight number 2, And they're showing the video footage here where he's doing Chiu blindfolded with Taky Kimura. And he does kind of an outside little sweep trip and brings him to the ground. This is a demonstration between a teacher and student. This is not as much as it's most likely unrehearsed, because you can do these things unrehearsed in Wing Chun. There's no magic to it. It's like a contact.
Taky Kimura think it was a real fight?
Why would Taky Kimura think it's a real fight?
I don't know.
He's a student.
I don't get it. Why would they believe it's a real fight? What would
no one, and it was never presented as a real fight. The only person who's saying it was a real fight is Mr. Bruce Lee Real Fight, nameless guy with almost 700 fucking thousand subscribers.
Mr. Bruce Lee
All
Real
right?
Fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Got
right.
it.
Here is a video of Taky Kimura
Nice
versus
sweep.
Bruce Lee. It is very obvious that Taky Kimura is not even up to Bruce Lee's standard, even though Bruce Lee is blindfolded.
It's pretty obvious Taky Kimura is Bruce Lee's student. And this is a demonstration of blindfolded Chiu. Not a fight between Bruce Lee while Bruce Lee is blindfolded against a Japanese guy who's challenging him. It's very disingenuous. And again, this is the really unfortunate thing about YouTube. You try to have like open and honest discussions about this kind of stuff, and then some absolute hack like this will come in with this like less than Wikipedia level shit with fudged facts and make sparring things seem like they were fights, and people go, oh, and then clap like otters when they watch this, right? Now, to be fair, this came out before John Little's awesome book, Wrath of the Dragon, which chronicles all of Bruce Lee's fights in as evidence-based a way as is possible. John Little did a great job. I'm always going to tell you my review is on the back there.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm always very excited about. And I helped to contribute, some information to the book. And the entire reason why John Little got the idea for that book was because of our first podcast interview with him. So this video here with 4 million views came out 5 years ago. So it came out before this. So nowadays it would be a lot easier to just take John Little's book and then you have all sorts of content here. It seems pretty clear like that's what Golden Bell is doing lately. He's just taking this book here and then, he's doing it a lot better than we are. Like I helped contribute to this book and now another YouTuber literally just takes a chapter, makes a video about it and gets a bajillion views. And we're like actually trying to have real discussions.
Behind the ball.
Yeah, we're so awful at YouTube. All right, let's go.
As you can see from the video, they were sparring each other, but Taky Kimura keeps going down because of Bruce Lee is controlling the fight.
Do you know why Taky Kimura keeps going down? Because he keeps replaying the same one clip of the same trip. All right, I like he's going. Yeah, he goes. See how he keeps going down, right? You watch a video and it's like there's more to it than just this here. But he literally replayed the same trip twice, and he goes, "Do you see how he keeps going down? Yeah, it's the same clip
It's in a loop.
on a loop." All right, Mr. Bruce Lee Real Fight.
It's too good.
It's a real Bruce Lee genius here.
Taky Kimura was born in 1924.
And this is where he pads it out with the superfluous information.
He met Bruce Lee in 1958. At
These
that
are the
time,
facts, right?
Taky Kimura was already 34 years old,
Wow, he can do math.
and Bruce Lee was only 18 years old.
That's a fact.
Taky Kimura was Bruce Lee's top student and also closest friend.
Okay, so
Right.
Mr. Bruce Lee Real Fight. Did you hear what you literally just said there? He was his top student and also his close friend. Here is a real fight you didn't know between Bruce Lee and Taky Kimura. I don't know about you, but how often you get in real fights with your closest friend and top student, right? It's called sparring. It's called training. It's called a demonstration. It's not a real fight.
Yeah.
Also, to say that Taky Kimura was Bruce Lee's top student, I think it's a bit subjective. I think that Bruce was extremely close to Taky Kimura, which is the reason why Taky Kimura was one of the ones that was authorized by Bruce to teach, and he had the Junfan Kung Fu School in Seattle over other people like, let's say, Jesse Glover or James DeMille, who I believe were much better fighters than Taky Kimura and perhaps technically much better. But Bruce perhaps had a falling out with them or didn't really trust them to run the show. Taky was older, he was more responsible, and then they were very close. But to say that he was his top student, you could infer that because he has a certificate, but you would also then have to see why some other people who had learned in Seattle who are perhaps better fighters or stronger than Taky don't get that same credit because maybe they just were kind of out of the scene by then. And that's no disrespect to Taky, but these titles are always a bit hyperbolic, who the best student is.
However, not to forget that he was also a great Japanese-American martial artist before he met Bruce Lee.
Not entirely true. He had maybe done some judo training when he was unfortunately in an internment camp during the Second World War, but to say that he was a great Japanese-American martial artist, I think is a bit of a stretch. I mean, before he met Bruce.
I see.
He became Bruce Lee's student because he knows Bruce Lee is way better than him.
Oh, I like, okay. Like, I don't, it's weird because I don't live in the world of, like, I don't watch videos like this to get information.
Right.
Because this is just some real basic bitch kind of level stuff. But you see that this guy doesn't actually really know that much about Bruce Lee because he's just kind of riffing on the common bullet points, but he's not saying anything that's like insightful and it's not being said from a standpoint of someone who knows this information firsthand. You know, it's very like vague and very just like kind of like he's just going through the bullet points. He became Bruce Lee's student because he knew that Bruce Lee was much better than him. Well, I mean, like
isn't that what you want?
Yeah, but what kind of statement is that?
Even? I know it's a strange.
Yeah, it's like, do you go and do you generally learn martial arts from people who are worse than you or no less? I mean, it's very redundant and like it's like just filler talk.
Real fight number 3.
Okay, here comes the third real fight. By the way, remember that the title of this video is Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight. Nobody knows. All right, so nobody knows this.
Nobody knows about this fight.
Certainly not our completely uneducated followers and viewers here.
When he says nobody, he means like not one person.
I think he means himself. All right, here we go.
Bruce Lee versus Wong Jack Man.
Oh, no one knows. No one knows about Wong Jack Man. No one knows.
I've heard about Wong Jack Man fight.
You're making that shit up. You probably saw a movie that you thought was about that.
You might be right.
No one has heard of Wong Jack Man and Bruce Lee. Get out of here.
The real fight between Bruce Lee and Wong Jack Man is probably one of the most popular fights in Kung Fu history ever.
What is one of the most popular fights, but nobody knows?
Mr. Bruce Lee real fight, you're confusing me. You said you lured me into your video.
You got me with that.
Because the title was Top 10 Bruce Lee Real Fight. Not real fights. Real fight. Nobody knows. I clicked on this video to find fights that I've never... that I just don't know because I'm nobody.
Right.
So I would assume I don't know it.
You
just said about Wong Jack Man, whom I have to admit I've never heard of before.
I think.
But then you're saying it's the most popular of all the fights and most famous. But your title says nobody knows.
I know what happened. We've got baited by a master.
We got masturbated?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Why both of these masters get into a fight? The story goes back to 1964. 24-year-old Bruce Lee opened up a Kung Fu school in San Francisco. He teaches Kung Fu to non-Chinese as he...
Okay, all right. I'm going to have to cut you off there. Because again, this is so crazy. A video like this gets 4 million views. And it's just perpetuating the standard talking points with zero insight. Okay, the idea that Wong Jack Man came to Bruce Lee's school to challenge him because Bruce Lee was teaching non-Chinese is maybe one of the silliest of all the narratives that have ever been created about
from
Bruce
Hong
Lee.
Kong?
No, Wong Jack Man was also in the San Francisco, Oakland area.
And what was he doing? Was he teaching Kung Fu at the time?
I think he was a waiter who also did Kung Fu.
Was he not teaching yet?
Yeah, but you don't understand. They're only teaching Chinese. But Bruce is teaching non-Chinese. First of all, this is so completely stupid. Because again, this is the kind of stuff that like people who are at the lowest rung of knowledge, like they're in the Dunning-Kruger, like, oh, I read one article about Bruce Lee and now I know everything about Bruce Lee. Did you know that Bruce Lee was challenged because he was teaching non-Chinese and he had to fight for the right to teach non-Chinese? Like, what? I mean, it's a great story beat. It's unfortunately false. All right,
man.
Because all beefs, all fights, they're always personal. Okay? And you have to understand the narrative doesn't make sense for a number of reasons. First of all, just in California alone, I believe one of the first Chinese Kung Fu instructors to teach non-Chinese was the late Ark Wai Wong. And I think he was already teaching non-Chinese.
In San Francisco?
No, in the LA area.
Okay.
In the 1930s.
Wow.
Okay? So there were Chinese Kung Fu instructors in America who were teaching non-Chinese before Bruce Lee was even born. Okay? So we need to already kind of kick this BS out of the conversation. All right? Second of all, there is a huge misconception, mainly among people who are not in the martial arts world, or maybe people who just watch Kung Fu movies, or maybe people who dabble a little bit or read some magazines in the 80s. There was this misapprehension that Chinese martial arts is like this one big unified thing.
Okay.
And everyone is like, and we're all holding hands as like martial artists. We're brothers in martial arts. And we're there to defend the honor of our entire nationality of martial arts collectively. And the thing is, nothing could be further from the truth.
All right.
The truth is that Chinese martial arts, especially in the 20th century, were already so factionalized and so tribal that a practitioner of Shaolin Kung Fu style X would not give a crap about someone in the States who was teaching Wing Chun Kung Fu, because they would naturally view most styles outside of their own style as inferior anyway.
Wow.
Okay, this idea that no, Chinese martial arts are all from one source, and oh no, we're all brothers, it's a one tree, many branches, okay? Like that whole kind of kumbaya kind of thing, all right? That comes through individuals who feel that way.
Okay.
And that also comes through certain changes in the zeitgeist over time. But the idea that like a Chinese martial arts practitioner would need to defend the honor of Chinese martial arts as an institution against someone who taught another style and didn't teach it to only non-Chinese is ridiculous, because that means that to a certain degree, Wong Jack Man gave a crap about the purity of, even though we know Wing Chun, Bruce was really teaching Chun Fan Kung Fu, which was his own method.
All right.
But let's just call it Wing Chun, just to simplify it. All right.
Okay.
The idea that Wong Jack Man, someone from, you know, a Jingwu style Kung Fu, Law Han Kung Fu, whatever it is that he did, would have to fight for the honor collectively of Chinese martial arts to defend Bruce Lee teaching, let's just call it Wing Chun for simplification,
All right.
to non-Chinese. Why would Wong Jack Man give a crap about what someone teaches in another Kung Fu style? He would naturally, if he even had heard of Wing Chun, he would assume it to be inferior to what he's doing anyway. So why would he care if some other guy is teaching his inferior product to non-Chinese? Okay, no, it's because he's giving away our secrets. Bro, you don't think the other styles have any secrets. You think your style has all the secrets. So the thing is that this is a narrative mess, because it makes sense to people who are not in this scene. When you're in this scene, you'd be like, eh? And now we're going to make it even more implausible.
All right.
Bruce was not teaching Wing Chun. Bruce was teaching Zhen Fan Kung Fu. That was the name he gave to his school, to what he was teaching. Bruce, at this point, was a few years into living in the States. He no longer taught Wing Chun. I mean, he arguably never really taught Wing Chun straight. He taught Wing Chun kind of with his own flavor, and he started to modify and tinker and so on and so forth. But at some point, I think that he maybe didn't feel comfortable saying that what he was doing was Wing Chun, knowing that he was, one, not even a qualified Wing Chun instructor,
right,
and two, that he had already kind of changed the methods and he kind of does things in his own way.
Okay.
So he did, which I think is very respectable and very commendable, especially for Chinese at that time. He just taught it under his own name because Zhen Fan
was his name.
It was his Chinese name, Lei Zhen Fan, right? By the way, it's Zhen Fan. It's not Jun Fun or Jun Fan or whatever. Zhen Fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to make this whole argument even sillier is that Wong Jack Man is now not saying like, hey, there's this guy named Bruce Lee who's teaching our national arts of Wing Chun to non-Chinese. There's this guy named Bruce Lee who's just teaching some made-up martial art named after himself.
we need to stop this because he's teaching it to non-Chinese, and we can't let this happen.
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't make sense because anyone outside of Bruce's school, if they were in the Chinese martial arts community, would say that guy is teaching a martial art that no one has ever heard of. Because again, in 1964, we're not talking about a Bruce Lee who's a movie star.
Okay.
We're not talking about Bruce Lee who's teaching celebrities who once had a TV show called Green Hornet.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking, he's just another dude.
Yeah.
All right. He's just another dude with a school in Oakland. Okay. And on top of it, he calls what he does his own name. Chinese would literally laugh at this. Like, this guy's like made up his own style.
Why
right?
is he?
They don't necessarily know that that's just the moniker he's using for his development or whatever. They don't think that way. Chinese martial arts is not that progressive. They would go like, this guy's teaching some chop suey shit. It's made up. And the idea that, oh no, we can't let him give those made up chop suey secrets away. Because they wouldn't believe that he's teaching a real Chinese martial art. They just thought he needed to be taught a lesson because Bruce gave a demonstration where he was very critical about traditional martial arts in front of a group of other martial artists, and they felt personally insulted. That's the reason why they went over there. Not because he was teaching secrets of a martial art that they probably assumed he made up himself to white people.
Believes under the sky we are one family. This has caused...
We are all one family, except the guy who makes these Bruce Lee real fight videos.
Wong Jack Man and Bruce Lee found themselves at opposing ends of the San Francisco martial arts world. So, Wong Jack Man proposed a fight with the ultimate...
By the way, look at that pose.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That would definitely be something that Bruce Lee would be scared of in the 60s. Like, oh my God, the guy's standing on one leg with his arms nowhere near protecting his body. What would I even think to do against someone like this? All right? Single leg takedown.
Oh, yeah.
Made them that should Bruce Lee lost the fight, he would have to shut down his school and stop teaching anyone Kung Fu. Therefore, they fought and Bruce Lee won. Bruce Lee's Kung Fu school is still there after the fight. So what do you think then?
See, that's his whole evidence there.
That's proof.
Not the eyewitness accounts, but like Bruce Lee's school was still there.
Still there after the fight. So
All right.
that means he didn't have to close it.
That's right. So he could have, even though the song didn't exist back then, he could have played Elton John's I'm Still Standing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Better than I ever did.
Yeah.
All right. After Wong Jack Man came and failed.
Besides, Bruce Lee's wife, Linda Lee Catwell, also talked about the fight
You notice he cannot pronounce anyone's name associated with Bruce Lee?
Catwell.
in her recent interview. He said the fight lasts 3 minutes. Bruce Lee won the fight, but he didn't feel happy. From there, Bruce Lee keeps thinking of a way to win a fight instantly. Is that the reason why Jeet Kune Do exists?
Is that the reason why Jeet Kune Do exists?
Is that
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
He's really up on all the narratives, right? He's definitely watched the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Well, Jeet Kune Do
in Chinese means
Jeet Kune Do teaches you how to win the fight instantly.
Yes.
So
yeah, whereas Wing Chun says you need to chase a guy around for 3 minutes. All right. Had he only figured out Jeet Kune Do earlier, right?
Oh man.
do you give up? And he said yes. And that was the end.
So that was, besides the fact that there were other eyewitnesses to it, of course, you know, I don't think anyone disputes that the fight happened because both sides talked about it.
Okay.
And of course, you would listen to Bruce's students and they're going to say one thing, and Wong Jack Man guys are going to say something else. But the reason why the Wong Jack Man thing for me is a simple close and shut case. By the way, I don't think that the fight was anything spectacular. I think it was a shit show of people running around the Oakland school and Wong Jack Man falling over and Bruce falling over him and then doing this. But 2 points of evidence, which I think are, well, the closest we could call evidence as far as this goes are two statements that were made by people who were not in the fight. And one is this Linda Lee thing. But obviously one could easily say, well, she would obviously be biased to just talk about her husband, right?
Yeah, the husband.
Except that she said in Cantonese what Bruce said to Wong Jack Man, which is lei fok fok ah. It means to give up, and is the negation. So in Chinese, like if I want to ask you, like, do you know how to speak Cantonese? The question would be, you know, not know, speak Cantonese. So they have, that's not the only way to ask a question, but in Mandarin, they will usually just throw ma at the end. But in Cantonese, they don't use that ma form that much, except in written. But in spoken Cantonese, you would basically ask a question like, do you have, not have, food? Do you know, not know Cantonese? Have you learned, not learned Kung Fu?
And then you
right, and then your answer, if it was positive. So the interesting thing is that sometimes people ask, like, how do you say yes in Chinese? Well, simply it could be hai or it could be tak, depending on the situation, right? Which is more like okay. But in reality, there's no word for yes in Cantonese specifically. I mean, there is. It's basically the verb to be. Because when you're asked the question, it's rarely a yes or no question, because it's like, have you or have you not eaten? And your answer would be, if you had eaten, you would say have. And if you have not eaten, you would say not have or not yet. All right. And then if I ask you a question like, do you understand Chinese? Like, which literally means to listen. I would say like, can you hear, not hear Cantonese? And if you understand Cantonese, you would say hear. And if not, you would say not hear. So you either basically just say the verb, which would mean the positive, or the negation. So when you want to ask someone if they give up or not, to give up is fok. To kind of to concede. And then fok is not concede. So when you ask someone, you say lei fok fok ah, you concede or not concede. And then the answer would either be fok.
What's ah?
Ah is like a question mark. It's almost like it's not always that way. Chinese, for anyone who's heard Cantonese, you've always heard a lot of these endings. Ah, la, ama, gama, right?
Right.
And there's no direct English equivalence to those kind of words.
Right.
But it's almost like spoken punctuation. Like not in all cases, but sometimes it's like it's like in English when you say you know.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like the way you say you know, adding some emphasis, or it's almost like a spoken exclamation point or a spoken question mark. And then usually at the end of a question, you put ah. So ah almost is like a question mark sound, right?
Spoken question.
Lei is you. Fok, give up, not give up. Ah, meaning question. Lei fok, ah. And that's how you say it, right? And then you would say fok, or you would say, if you didn't give up, you would fok, right? I don't give up, right? And so Linda Lee, who's not a native Cantonese speaker, she said she heard what her husband said to Wong Jack Man, like fok. So if it was a made up story, Bruce would be like, hey, in the future, if people ever interview him, tell them that I said fuck ah. All right. And then you'll know it. So like it doesn't seem like it would be something that Bruce would have prepared Linda for, right? Now, I mean, maybe it never happened. Maybe she learned how to say those things later or whatever, but it just seems like.
Well, maybe she already knew at that time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the white chick who was there heard what Bruce said and attested to it. The other one, and perhaps the more compelling piece of evidence of the fact that Bruce Lee most likely won this exchange between him and Wong Jack Man, even though it was most likely, like I said, kind of a shit show, is that David Chin, who was a Kung Fu instructor who was friends with Wong Jack Man. David Chin was in the Wong Jack Man camp. He was in the group that came to Bruce Lee's school with Wong Jack Man. And he also later admitted that he was kind of the instigator because he actually wanted to see his friend Wong Jack Man fight Bruce Lee. And there are people like that, the people who talk shit because they want to see you fight with someone.
Stuff.
They instigate, not for themselves, for other people, right? And there are people like this who want to see, like, what happens if these two guys fight. So let me get these guys to fight each other, right? And David Chin admitted that he was Wong Jack Man's friend, but he was kind of the instigator to get them to fight. But he was on team Wong Jack Man. And he admitted after that Bruce had won. And so that is what you call a statement against interest. So in historical methodology, the problem with history versus science is if you want to know if something is true in science, you create an experiment. And if it's true and it works, you should be able to replicate this experiment again and again and always get the same result. Right. That's why when you mix this liquid with this liquid, it's going to turn into this, right? Yeah. Because you've done it a million times. You can do it here. You can do it in Germany. You can do it in Antarctica. You would get the same result. Then you can say this is a tested scientific theory. The problem is with history, even with a proper historical method, which, by the way, almost nothing in the Bruce Lee world or nothing in the Chinese martial arts world gets subjected to peer review or gets done with any proper historical method. But one of the things that historians have to deal with is that, unlike science, you can't rerun the experiment. You can't say, like, okay, you can't run an experiment to figure out what Bruce had actually said, because you cannot, unless you have a video of it.
Yes,
you have
some
to
kind
be.
of evidence.
History is really piecing together a puzzle with lots of fuzzy pieces, occasional piece that's clear, but then two other pieces that are not. For every clear piece you have two fuzzy pieces. And with this, you have to kind of try to put something together. Okay. One of the things that historians will do, which will give them, and again, you never have full certainty whenever you're trying to talk about things historically. You're dealing in probabilities. This is most likely what happened, or a good historian can really only say, if you don't have video or film evidence of something, based on the evidence, this is most likely what happened, or something like this is most likely what happened.
Based on the evidence.
And then you're dealing then with probabilities, but you're not dealing with absolute certainty. But one of the tools that historians can use, it's not the only tool. It's also not a mic drop. None of these things are mic drops, but it is something, is a statement against interest. Okay? And that is when someone should be biased for team A, but what he says actually supports team B. Because then you know that guy's being honest, because if he was being biased, he would fudge it towards A. If David Chin was being biased, he would be on the side of Wong Jack Man.
Wong Jack Man won clearly.
He's Wong Jack Man's boy, and he had to admit that Wong Jack Man lost. For me, even though it's not exactly a mic drop, but it is a very strong piece of evidence. It is the kind of evidence that historians would use, not as the entire case, but as a supporting piece of evidence. Okay. Very similar to when Israeli archaeologists tried to go into the lands that were described in the Old Testament, the time of Moses, into Egypt, and dig and try to find the things that were in the Old Testament, in the stories. And they came up with bupkis, nothing. Okay.
Right.
In fact, they came up with a lot of evidence to suggest that the stories were not only not accurate, but completely made up.
Okay.
And so you have people who were Israeli archaeologists, had every motivation to find something to support what's in their book, every motivation to fudge facts, to be like, no, this could be like, Noah's Ark, or this could be evidence that Moses existed. They would have you would think that they would have every reason to be biased towards it.
Mm-hmm.
They said they found zero evidence and could not support it. That's a strong statement than if someone who was like from a completely different, if you had a Buddhist archaeologist come and say, oh, there's no evidence of any of this stuff from the Old Testament. You'd be like, yeah, of course, because you're on Team Buddha and you don't want, are they even Buddhist archaeologists, right? Who go and try to disprove other religions, a very un-Buddhist-like thing, right? But the idea would be like if someone came from another religion and they were the archaeologists looking to see if yours was true, and they're like, no, this shit's totally fake. You'd be like, well, you also might have a reason to say it's fake. But when your own peeps try to find out and they go, they think it might be fake. This is called a statement against interest. Mm-hmm. And this is where we can then say, all right, so we have at least not pure certainty, but we have a higher level of probability that may be the case.
It's sort of like when Nas and Jay-Z had that rap battle. And a lot of
which
Jay-Z
culminated in Ether.
Yeah, Jay-Z fans were like blown away when Ether came out.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, whoa.
Ether was crazy.
Ooh. And it was just like, we can't really. No.
Yeah. No, because Nas killed Jay-Z with Ether.
It's clear.
Yeah, even if you were Team Jay-Z,
right.
You'd be like, dude,
no.
Nas killed him. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I can't do anything for you, Jay.
All right, so now let's go on to the next top 10 Bruce Lee real fight nobody knows.
So what if you could transport back in time for a front row seat into the life and legacy of one of the most respected Wing Chun masters in history? Gong Sao Wong, a tribute direct students on Sifu Wong Sau Leung, offers you just that. Through a series of exclusive conversations, 25 direct students share anecdotes, reflections, and personal stories offering in-depth understanding of the man behind the legend. Order your copy today across 12 Amazon marketplaces with free shipping. I absolutely love this book, and I think you'll find it an indispensable part of your collection. I can't recommend it enough. Get yours today. Go to Amazon, type in Gong Sao Wong, and there you go.
Real fight number 4. Bruce Lee versus Muhammad Ali's bodyguard George Dillman. Who is George Dillman? George Dillman is a master of Ryukyu Kempo Karate. He is ranked 10th degree black belt in karate.
Okay, now George Dillman is a really interesting character.
This is
because George Dillman is someone who, for all intents and purposes, was like a legitimate karate guy back in the day.
All right.
Kempo karate guy. All right. You see him right here in this photo with Bruce.
Yeah.
George Dillman also was very close to Muhammad Ali, and I believe did work as his bodyguard, but I don't know what the exact story was. But George Dillman knew Muhammad Ali, and he was a tournament guy back then, and he was a legitimate karate guy.
Okay.
So there was nothing weird about him at that time. George Dillman, much later in his career, like many, many years after Bruce Lee passed, started to become one of these pressure point guys where he could give you like the Vulcan neck pinch and you're going to like turn into a puddle of piss, right?
Oh, okay.
You know, and like he could, suddenly like, now it was a matter of like hitting someone on certain points at certain times, and you're going to be able to like fully either incapacitate the guy or knock them out or whatever.
Like the Denmark touch or something?
Yes.
Like that?
And then it goes into like full woo territory. Full woo territory.
Okay.
So the problem is like now when you mention George Dillman's name, people like associate it with like, oh, that's like that weird
guy.
Fake pressure point guy, because he got outed on a TV show. And it's a very old clip. I don't remember the details of it perfectly because it's been a very long time since
Johnny
I've seen
Carson?
it. No, it wasn't that. It was like a local TV news thing.
All right.
And then they were like, they wanted him to do like the pressure points, I think on the anchor, the news anchor.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I could be,
easily,
by the way,
right.
I could be mixing that in because there's another video with a guy who claimed to do that
like a
kind of
blur
pressure
line,
point
yeah.
shit.
Okay.
And then like he had to do it on the news. Like he ended, like he was going to do it, I think, on the woman anchor. And he ended up just slapping her. And like nothing happened except she just got slapped and got kind of pissed off, right?
What?
Yeah,
That
but then George Dillman, I think, did it in a similar situation, or maybe there were some martial artists who came over. In any case, I think it was like a martial arts guy. Maybe it wasn't a news anchor.
He could easily pull the no. I don't want to do that to the because I don't want you to.
No. It's even worse than that. So he does the demonstration and it fails.
It fails.
He doesn't knock out the martial arts guy, whatever.
Oh no!
And then they kind of interview him.
He knocked out the anchor.
And then I think the anchor one was another one, right?
Right.
I think this was a martial arts.
Got it.
Anyway, it doesn't matter because it's all the same failed experiment, right? and then afterwards they kind of interview him as to like, so why didn't that work? And then he's like, he's kind of looking around. He's like saying like, wow, I probably shouldn't reveal this, but if you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you can circumvent the effect of the death touch or the pressure point. So basically, if I give you like the secret phoenix eye to the side of the neck, which is going to like incapacitate you, right? If you just did this, by putting your tongue there, you'll be fine.
You'll be okay. and okay, so he's saying that when he did this on this person, the person was doing
but he's almost kind of implying, because obviously the person didn't know that.
Right.
He's implying that maybe the person just happened to have his tongue on the roof of his mouth. Yeah.
Okay.
And it just came out as such like because that's where you completely lost respect for him.
Okay.
Because it's very clear that he's either lying and he knows he's lying, or he's completely delusional and he believes it. And either story A or story B does not bode well for Mr. Dillman. So the problem is like there's legions of kind of like bullshito hunters online who will always like look all this fake martial arts shit.
Right.
And he's top of mind because of those videos.
Gotcha.
But at the time that Bruce was around and Bruce would have met him, he was like he was a normal karate guy.
Got it.
He was not like into this woo-wee bullshit.
He trained with Muhammad Ali and was once his bodyguard before. Dillman is
once is before what? I always have a feeling Mr. Real Fight guy,
Before
like he
what?
has a sentence and it never gets finished.
Before Christ.
Yes.
also a member of Black Belt Magazine's Hall of Fame. He was named martial arts
That's what he looks like now, by the way.
He was named Martial Arts Instructor of the Year in 1997.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are, if you were just in the magazines at that time, at some point you would be in the Hall of Fame. It's not that
Instructor
big.
of the Year in 1997. He admitted that he was defeated by Bruce Lee in a real fight in less than 3 seconds. Yes,
sounds about
3 seconds. A 10th-degree black belt admitted that he was defeated by Bruce Lee. What do you think about Bruce Lee's ability in a real fight?
Okay, so
All right, first off,
yeah,
of course he was counting how many seconds he was in the fight with Bruce Lee.
obviously, whenever you're in a real fight, you would
start counting automatic.
Of course, I always
how he
count
knows
the
it's been
seconds of
3
all my
seconds.
real fights.
Of course, as soon as you start the fight, you have to
That's
count.
the only way it works, bro. So anyway, here I have John Little's book.
Oh, right.
He has a little passage in here about the Dillman thing. So Dillman says, so I get in my fighting stance and all of a sudden, pow, his foot hits me upside the head. So it's basically what he said there. The kick was so quick. By the way, it's also eerily similar to the Sammo Hung thing.
Yeah.
Where people would kind of get in some, and you can imagine that also might have been one of Bruce Lee's great tricks, which is from Wing Chun. It's this idea of, to use attack as
like
defense. The karate guy's getting into his super formal stance, and when he does that, Bruce just kicks him.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't waste any time going into
that's
it,
the
right?
Wing Chun idea.
Yeah, it's like, why are we going to wait for you ready? Right? Okay, he hit you already, right? It's like he was the first man that I saw who could use his hands, both of them equally. We all strive for that, blah, 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 blah. Now, so I mean, clearly George Dillman says he, that he was really fast and he got kicked before he got a chance. Now, I don't have any reason to doubt something like that, because what's interesting is Dillman mentions this story and it sounds very similar to the Sammo Hung story.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling that this was like a common thing Bruce would do because he could whip that front leg out so quickly. Whereas a lot of the traditional martial artists at that time, they did a lot of their movements in a very formalized way. Even when you look at some of the fighters at that time, like if you look at like Chuck Norris or you look at some of those fights back then, their kicks, especially before they had some chance to get exposure to Bruce Lee, kind of clunky and slow. There was like a lot of like, get into your wide karate stance, step with the foot, lift your leg, chamber in a very slow and awkward way, launch the kick and come. And it didn't have this kind of, Bruce had like this kind of cat-like kind of where he would just go in and go into it very quickly. And I think that there were some martial artists who had that a little bit, but the average martial artists back then, they were really in like, I'm going to get into my back stance so I can like do this and this kick, right? And you could just see that Bruce would just be, because the whole thing about the JKD stance, which he called it like the what was it called? The bent phasic stance or something, which the idea was that you were like a coiled snake ready to go at any moment. Yeah. So he never had this idea of having a stance where you're set. All right. Where you're just kind of sitting in place. His stance was like coiled so that he was ready to move. Right. And this was a huge advantage over the way a lot of those people fought. Even if you think about Sammo Hung, who was kind of a stunt actor and an opera guy, he would also maybe get into a stance, maybe a more Chinese style stance, but it's that same kind of trope. Are you ready? And while the one guy's getting into a stance, there comes that kick, right?
So like a party trick Bruce Lee would do all the time.
A little bit, right? And it's, again, not to say that it wasn't faster, he was just duping these guys, but it's also a clash of styles. He had a way of moving in which he was ready to go. And so you hear Dillman say that, you hear Sammo Hung say it. So what you hear is this common trope of like people kind of squaring up to Bruce and Bruce just launching a really quick but probably controlled kick, touching them on the side of the face. And then, okay, that's it. Now you just, like, I don't need to like smash you. You clearly see like, you didn't even see my kick coming, right? So I don't have any reason to doubt that something like that it went on between Dillman and Bruce and Sammo and Bruce and most likely lots of other guys in Bruce, because this seemed to be one of his things. But sometimes people think like, like here it goes like, well, I mean, George Dillman said this happened. So clear he's and Mr. Bruce Lee Real Fight Channel is like, and he's a 10th degree black belt. So, and he admitted that Bruce Lee beat him or whatever. And sometimes I think that in the martial arts, there's a little bit of fake humility.
Okay.
Because in martial arts, you're supposed to be humble. You're supposed to, not be like cocky and brash and all this kind of stuff. And I think
but
that
you still have to be confident in your skills.
Yeah, but I think that post Bruce Lee's death, there were a lot of people who were established martial artists who thought, well, if there's one guy you're going to lose in exchange to, make it this guy who's dead. This legendary guy. And then you'd be like, yeah, bro, he was really fast. Even I, with my 10th degree, couldn't do anything. And then that guy may be the best guy in their school, and everyone would look at that guy in awe because no one can touch their 10th degree master. And he goes, let me tell you about this guy who's now basically a mythical guy who's now gone. So I'm not saying he's lying about it, but I'm just saying that purely attesting to Bruce Lee having punched you really fast or kicked you really fast and you couldn't stop it is almost a humble brag. Oh, he was so good, I couldn't stop it. What's the brag? I stood in front of Bruce Lee.
I left humbled. Okay.
No. The brag is I was in front of Bruce Lee and exchanged with him.
Right.
And you didn't. I could do it. I'll tell you how good he was, right? You won't have the chance because he's gone.
Yeah.
All right. I'm humble because I lost, but it's also a brag because it was Bruce Lee. You see what I mean? Okay. So I'm not saying he's lying about that, but I'm just saying like someone saying that Bruce Lee whooped their ass is not the sole bar of evidence that this thing happened just because, well, why, like we're talking before about statements against interest. this is not a statement against interest, because if you're a karate guy who's got a following and considered good by your own students and by the magazines, you can concede a loss that happened in a flash years ago when no one was around. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, it was like totally crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it not be really a blemish on your career. So that's kind of all I'm saying about that. All right. Now let's scrub a little bit forward to Bruce Lee's next fight.
Fight number 5. Bruce Lee street fight in Hong Kong. Bruce Lee had a lot of street fights in Hong Kong before his returning to the United States.
Now we have shit the bed. Okay. All right. Bruce Lee Real Fight Channel waited until fight number, what is this, 4? 5? Before he went Beerdy on us.
Oh,
okay?
no.
He is now showing footage of a rooftop fight, which is actually a fight between a Wing Chun practitioner and a practitioner of Northern Mantis.
Wow.
No, not Grandmaster.
No,
these guys are not
Grandmaster. He went Grandmaster Baxter on us.
He went a little bit, with kind of made up story, right? The Wing Chun exponent here, who is fighting the praying mantis guy, this is a Wong Jack student, the late Wu Chan Lam. And Wu Chan Lam was one of Wong Jack's students. Like I said, he was also a very good friend of our late friend Chan Chi Man. Chan Chi Man, who was a direct student of Yip Man, was also quite close to Wong Jack, and he was particularly close to Wong Jack's student Wu Chan Lam. As a matter of fact, on YouTube, there are videos of Chan Chi Man and Wu Chan Lam doing chi sao together. So they were very, very close. And here Wu Chan Lam is having a sparring match, fight, rooftop fight, whatever, with this Wu Chan Lam here, and this is the Mantis guy.
Oh, wow.
But this is not Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And you know, the weird thing is he's pointing it, saying like, oh, this is Bruce Lee. And right now it's actually pointing at the Mantis guy anyway. It's not even pointing at the Wing Chun guy.
He's not.
There is no footage of Bruce Lee fighting on a rooftop using Wing Chun. This footage doesn't exist that we know of. Otherwise it would be out there.
Okay.
But here, Bruce Lee Real Fight is lying and making shit up. All right. So he's gone. That's why I said like, he's stretching the thing with Taky Kimura being a fight. He then said the Wong Jack Man, which was a real fight. My issue is it's not a fight no one knows about, but at least it was a real fight. Here, this is pure bullshit. Pure bullshit.
Full Beerdy.
Age of 18. He learned Wing Chun from Master Yip Man at the...
And do you see what he does? He doesn't give any details about this fight because he can't, because he's lying. So then he just talks about, oh, Bruce learned Wing Chun from Yip Man and blah, 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 inserting a lot of filler talk.
Age of 16 because he wanted to win over every fight he had on the street. Here we have an interview of Bruce Lee's close friend in Hong Kong, Steve Lee Ga-ting. Steve mentioned...
Lee Ga-ting is an actor. Actually, you may remember him. He has like some small roles in Bloodsport. I think he's also in Kickboxer with Van Damme. And he has actually done movies for quite a while. He used to be really jacked. Very impressive guy. I don't know too much about his relationship with Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Bruce Lee obviously knew a lot of actors. One from his time as a childhood actor, he knew a lot of actors. And then obviously later when he made films in Hong Kong, he knew a lot of actors. And there are lots of stories like with Chan Wai Man and all these guys who had met Bruce. But sometimes I see, like, I don't know. I'm not saying Lee Ga-ting did not know Bruce Lee or whatever. I'm sure there's photos of them together. But it's always a little iffy whether this stuff
Bruce
is
Lee
real.
Lifted up 2 men on the street who weighs about 140 pounds each. The 2 men were scared of Bruce Lee's strength and ran away. Steve Lee Ga-ting is a well-known...
Okay. Lee Ga-ting witnessed Bruce Lee lifting up 2 guys who are 140 pounds each.
Mm-hmm.
Did Bruce lift them up like doing 2 shoulder presses? And then did these guys just kind of flop and not fight back? Did he hold both of them like this? Did he put them over their shoulder and spank their asses?
Yeah,
like
did he weigh them before?
Can we get a few more details?
Did he put them on the scale beforehand?
Yeah. But also, yeah, it's weird like the facts they know. Oh, they were 140 pounds each. Yeah. We know that.
Yeah.
But there are no details as to like, okay, they're scared of Bruce, so he's attacking people who are scared of him. and
they ran.
And Bruce
Uh-huh.
grabbed two dudes and lifted them up, and they're not trying to kick or punch or hit back. He's just gonna go and do this and carry them and lift them. Like, why? Like, what? Like, there's nothing to this story where you have to go like, oh man, that totally sounds legit.
Wow.
This is a real fight that we didn't know about. This sounds like
what a
horseshit.
fight.
Martial artist and also actor in Hong Kong.
And then he always says like, and the reason you know he's not lying is because he's a well-known martial artist and actor, right?
And
the reason you know Dillman isn't lying is because he's a 10th degree. And the reason you know that Taky Kimura isn't lying, even though it wasn't Taky Kimura's stories, he was Bruce Lee's best friend and student. It's like, and you know the reason Sammo Hung wasn't lying is because he is a movie choreographer, right? It's like
the credibility,
but it's like the line of argumentation. It's just like, even on the stuff that might be true, it's like the way he argues these things is irrational.
Hong Kong. He has a good reputation.
Good, he's got a good reputation. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real fight number 6. Bruce Lee versus Joe Louis.
Lovis.
Wait a minute.
Who's Joe Lovis?
Did he just call Joe Louis Joe Lovis?
Joe Lovis. Love us.
Does he think that a W is 2 V's?
He might think a W is 2 V's.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he pronounced interview with the W at the end, interview, instead of interview.
Joe Louis.
Joe Lovis.
Joe
Love
Louis
us.
Joe
has
Louis.
won innumerable karate tournaments and won.
It should strike anyone who listens to this. But the thing is, those 4 million views, these are not people who are Bruce Lee fans. These are casuals, of which there are a lot more casuals than there are people who actually give a shit about Bruce Lee. So he gets all these casuals, and then they're like, oh yeah, so this great video on YouTube where they were talking about all of Bruce Lee's real fights, right? He fought this guy named Joe Louis. Yeah. And but what you also realize about Bruce Lee real fight is he's not a Bruce Lee expert. Because then he would know it's Joe Louis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is not someone who knows about Bruce and is riffing from his great knowledge. He's getting shit off the internet, making a script and putting footage on it, right?
Was voted the greatest karate fighter of all time and world heavyweight full contact karate
world heavyweight
champion. From 1967 to 1968, this heavyweight kickboxing champion, Joe Louis, studied privately with Bruce Lee. In his recent interview before his death, he admitted he was a student of Bruce Lee. He also mentioned that Bruce Lee weighs about 130 pounds, but he punched like a heavyweight fighter.
Heavyweight fighter.
Yeah.
All right.
I heard
He
about
also
that.
mentioned that they spar each other during their training. Well, a heavyweight champion like Joe Louis became Bruce's student. Why? What do you think then?
Why? What do you think then? All right.
Oh, yeah.
This is him making sure that you get the answer you want at the end of the video.
So, but wait, this was the heavy. When did they have a fight? Did he even talk about the fight?
No, he said that they sparred together.
But that's not a real fight, is it? Sparring?
In the world of Bruce Lee real fight, sparring, an actual fight, a demonstration, these are all the same thing.
These are all the same. Okay, I get you.
We can think of is Bruce Lee defeated him in their sparring. Real fight number 7. Bruce Lee versus Skipper Mullins. Here is one and only video of Bruce Lee versus Skipper Mullins.
Okay, so again, here he's going hard into Beerdy territory. This video made the rounds on its own a number of years ago, and it was pitched as this is the only footage of Bruce Lee in a tournament. And it's a guy, it's very grainy, of course. It's like, 8mm footage from that time. And it's a karate match, and there's a guy in like a white karate gi and a guy dressed in all black. And that guy in all black kind of moves around like a little more fluidly. And then people were saying that this was Bruce Lee defeating, quote unquote, Skipper Mullins or whatever, right? According to this, the greatest kicker in the history of U.S. karate scene, right? This video is not of Bruce Lee. Okay. I mean, first of all, if there was a footage of Bruce Lee fighting in a tournament, we would have seen it for so long. People would have broken it down. We would know about it. It would be in the book here. I looked up Skipper Mullins. There's nothing about Skipper Mullins in the in John Little's book. And so it seems because what I want to know is, okay, did Bruce have a sparring match or a fight or whatever with someone named Skipper Mullins? Because that should be in the John Little book. It's not. The footage that's shown here is not Bruce Lee. Okay, so I'm not saying this happened because this footage is real. The footage is, if it's supposed to be Bruce Lee, it's fake. But it may have happened, but they're using fake footage to tell a real story. But it seems it's neither a real story, and the footage is certainly not real.
Yo, this guy had me believing he had a fight with Joe Louis. Yeah. The Skipper too. Yeah. The millionaire.
And his wife.
Yeah. This guy has got me like
the movie star.
Oh.
And maybe the professor and Marianne. All right. Here on Bruce Lee, Real Fight. Right, okay.
Jesus, man.
We just dated the shit out of ourselves, by the way. They're going to be feel like, these boomers here, did they literally just sing the theme song to Gilligan's Island?
I'm saying, but he has me going now.
Yes.
Now
Mullins is described as the greatest.
Describe it.
Kicker in the history of the U.S.
Oh my God! Look at this guy, Skipper Mullins.
Okay, Skipper.
This guy looks like you would find him pulling the slot machines in Atlantic City on a Wednesday.
Yes.
Karate scene. Mullins
Wednesday
has more than
morning.
7 world titles.
Okay, let's scrub a little forward. Let's go to the next fight.
Ooh,
Real
I think I know this
number
fight.
8.
This
Bruce
is famous
Lee
fight.
versus Yuan. Yuan is a popular.
That's why
this is a famous fight.
That's also the reason why I think this guy's a Mandarin speaker, because he says yuan instead of yun. It should be yun in Cantonese.
Gotcha.
Hong Kong stuntman and martial artist. He has appeared in over 160 films, and his kung fu is widely recognized by many grandmasters.
Okay, it's tough.
His kung fu is widely recognized by many grandmasters. What the F does that even mean?
I don't know.
Yun-Hua is undoubtedly one of the greatest stunt actors ever to come out of Hong Kong.
Right.
The guy's so good. Yeah. He was literally the stunt guy for Bruce Lee.
Right.
He's the guy who did the backflip kick against Bob Wall.
Yes.
He's the guy who did the flips over the monks at the beginning. He even did the little kip up for Bruce Lee in that fight versus Sammo Hung. He is one of the best stuntmen ever. If he didn't kind of look a little bit like a bad guy, let's say he had boyish looks, he would have been the star and not Jackie Chan. Because he was from the original Siu Fok, the Seven Little Fortunes. Okay. That was the name of the opera troupe that Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao came from. And Yun-Hua was probably one of the best. Except that his look, he kind of looked more like a villain. So, but in that he's played some of the greatest villains ever. If you ever just want to see just how badass Yun-Hua was and still is, kind of as a bad guy and as an actor, you have to see him. He plays villains in multiple films, but to kind of see the range of Yun-Hua, I would recommend like watching 3 films. Okay. You watch Dragons Forever, in which he's one of the main villains at the end. And just his acting style and how he's so great. Watch Eastern Condors. Okay. His fight scene with Sammo at the end is amazing. And he's acting and he's moving and he's doing acrobatics. And so you watch Dragons Forever for that end fight scene. You watch Eastern Condors to see him there. And then watch him in Kung Fu Hustle, where he plays the husband to the landlady.
That's right.
And you just look and you realize he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah. He's funny. He's a great actor. He's got physical comedy. He's got stunts. He's got hardcore action. He was amazing. But this throwaway line of, he's even widely recognized by many of the grandmasters. What I hate about Bruce Lee Real Fight channel is he always throws in these ultra vague lines, which are totally meaningless. And why like most Hong Kong Sifu or grandmasters would be like, Yun-Hua is a really great stunt guy, very good kung fu or whatever. But you don't hear them going like, we recognize Yun-Hua as like, because he's an actor. He's a stunt guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the best. But this is like a weird statement.
He said in an interview he was once trying to sneak attack Bruce Lee in a film set, but gets defeated by Bruce Lee kicks.
This is the
Real-
footage?
Okay.
Oh, okay, that wasn't.
So again, it's another thing. So he all right. One thing you have to understand about like the Hong Kong film industry, okay? Which is not too different from how the film industry works here. You have to be respectful of the people who came before you, because the people who came before you are also the people who are going to hire you again.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee's the star. Yuen-Hwa's a stuntman. The idea that Yuen-Hwa is going to surprise attack the star of a movie when he's a stunt guy, when this can go horribly wrong and he can then potentially never work again.
Right.
It's bullshit. This
He'll
is not
never work again in this town.
What the Chinese call guanhai, which is relationship. This is not how most Chinese would understand how to act or behave. When he was friends with Bruce, it's possible. Hey, you want to try me out? You want to see how good I am? That's different. But to say that he would surprise attack him is stupid.
Yeah.
Now, I see here just before we go, we're almost done.
We're
at real fight number 9. And it says Bruce Lee versus Wong Jack Man. Now, again, he's using the same footage. What was this from number 5?
I think it might
The
be
rooftop?
number 5, yes.
He's using the same rooftop footage, which I just said a moment ago is Wong Jack Man's student, the late Wu Chanlam,
He's on that loop.
versus a Mantis guy. He now is using the same footage to describe what, according to the captions, is Bruce Lee versus Wong Jack Man. Wong Jack Man being obviously his Siheng, who taught him a lot. And we know that when Bruce came back to Hong Kong to make those films, he met with Wong Jack Man a couple times. And even according to our good friend Wan Kam Leung, they had kind of like a little sparring match where they're kind of testing each other. But again, not a real fight, kind of a somewhat friendly, frenemy-ish kind of test of skills. Yeah. But again, here he is showing the footage of a 1960s era rooftop fight. Yeah. It is Wu Chanlam versus a Mantis guy. And again, the guy he's pointing to as Bruce Lee is not even the Wing Chun guy. It's the Mantis guy.
He's trying to use the same Taky.
He's an idiot.
Taky
Fight
loop
number
technique.
9. Bruce Lee versus Wong Chun Leong. Perhaps this was the longest fight Bruce Lee.
Another reason I can tell he's probably a Mandarin speaker. He struggles with the Cantonese pronunciations.
ever had. According to Master Wong Chun Leong, a Hong Kong martial artist who studied Wing Chun Kung Fu under Yip Man, said he used to have a 12-hour training session with Bruce Lee in Hong Kong.
A 12-hour training session?
It makes me think about the time when Beerdy...
yeah, that's some Beerdy level shit. Do you know how expensive it is to live in Hong Kong? Do you know how hard Hong Kong people have to work just to survive and live in Hong Kong?
Uh-huh.
When do you have 12 hours to do Kung Fu?
Train session.
Ever. Especially at that time when he was learning from Wong Jack Man, he wouldn't have had that time. He had school, he had other stuff. Wong Jack Man had other things to do. In post-war Hong Kong, who the F has 12 hours to train Kung Fu all day? Except maybe Yip Man, right?
Okay.
And then when Bruce was a movie star, was he training 12 hours a day? Well, according to Beerdy, it was 16. All right, let's get through this.
At the time, only him and Bruce Lee was in the room, and nobody else is allowed to enter the room, even their spouse.
Wow. This is nonsense.
Wong said they were both discussing their fighting styles in the room and will stand up for a real fight when both of them disagree on one thing. Wong said Bruce Lee's kicks were fast, but Wong's fists are as fast as Bruce's leg.
Yeah, this was talked about in the Poly book. Our good friend Wan Kam Leung talked about this. This is a really weird kind of description of what actually went on. And he kind of makes up some stuff and then adds in some stuff that's kind of real, but it's a mischaracterization of what happened.
Real fight number 10.
Here we go, number
Bruce
10.
Lee versus Chuck Norris.
All right, here we go. Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris met Bruce Lee in 1968 when he fought for his world title. Chuck won the professional middleweight karate champion title, which he held for 6 consecutive years.
Always don't forget the standard filler info.
years. Although Chuck Norris never admitted he had a fight with Bruce Lee, we have to put this as one of the real fights Bruce Lee ever had. Chuck Norris said in a couple interviews.
Okay. I'm trying to make sense of that.
He said he never said anything about it.
Although Chuck Norris said he never had a real fight with Bruce Lee,
Right.
we have to put this up as a real fight that he had with Bruce Lee.
Yeah. And then
Okay, so Mr. Bruce Lee Real Fight Channel, that's what's known as a non sequitur, which means does not follow.
Yeah.
When you come to a conclusion, it has to follow somehow from the premise, and you kind of shit the bed as far as that goes, right? Even though he never admitted he had a fight with Bruce Lee, we still have to count this as one of the real fights.
Yeah.
How did you get from A to B? That is not clear.
He said he trained with Bruce Lee, such as kicking the bags, punching the sandbags, but they never fight each other. On the other side, Wing Chun Grandmaster William Cheong said Bruce Lee defeated Chuck Norris in a secret fight.
Okay. Again, I always hate it. Like whenever William Cheong is brought up, because I'm a former Leung Ten guy.
Yeah.
If I have to say anything about William Cheong, and it always comes off like, oh, some kind of haterade. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
William Cheong lived in Australia during this time.
Yeah.
By
he was not
all accounts,
in Hong Kong.
By all accounts, when Bruce left Hong Kong and when William Cheong left Hong Kong, which would be around the same time, although they exchanged some letters, we've talked about those on other episodes, on the Bruce Lee letters, not those letters episode. Although they would exchange some letters because they were training partners and friends, there is no evidence to suggest, nor do I think it's ever been claimed, that they ever saw each other face to face again after that.
Okay.
That they would never mean face to face talk. All right.
Gotcha.
So where does William Cheong get this information that there was and it's always secret?
Yeah.
All right, especially with William Cheong.
There was
secret fight. There was a secret fight, and well, he's not saying that he's there, but like everything, like with William Cheong, there's always like a little bit of a sin of omission. Like there's always like a story that's told, and you're like, how did this connect here again? And it's like fuzzy memories with Jack Handy, right? And so somehow Bruce's friend, his childhood friend, who trained Wing Chun with him, who moved to Australia, which is for all intents and purposes the other side of the world from the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Knows about a secret match between Bruce and Chuck because nobody knows, because insert reasons. Okay. Also,
probably wrote to him.
I hate to say it, but this freeze frame we have here, which is William Cheong and Bruce Lee.
Oh, no.
This is a fabricated photo.
Oh, no.
Okay. This is this photo.
Just realized that.
Yeah, I know this. So here, this guy's trying to prop up William Cheong as someone who knows stuff, and he's literally showing a photo, which William Cheong fabricated. This photo of Bruce Lee is taken from a family photo where he's next to his brothers and sisters. Even the scratches on the photo from the actual photograph are still there.
Yeah.
You can see the hairline. I mean, like, you would have to be Team William Cheong to not want to believe that it's true. But when you see the original photo that it's lifted from, it's a family photo. And then William Cheong had to put himself in front of it to cover where I think Bruce's sister was, or his brother. This is a fabricated photo. Now, the weird thing is, William Cheong and Bruce Lee really knew each other. They were friends. They exchanged letters. It's just that they seem to have never gotten a photo together, which is not unheard of. Taking photos was a big pain in the ass back then, right? And so William Cheong, despite his closeness to Bruce Lee, didn't have a photo, and he unfortunately seemed to have fabricated one. And this photo is being propped up somehow as evidence that we need to listen to what William Cheong has to say. And Bruce Lee Real Fight doesn't even know this is actually a fake photo.
Cheong is a very reputable grandmaster of his lineage of Wing Chun.
Lineage.
Therefore, we don't think he simply said that. Despite looking at Bruce Lee's speed,
Yeah, the lineage that we're talking about here is the line where he put himself in front of Bruce's sister in the photo.
muscle, power, flexibility, and his austere lines, compared to Chuck Norris' body in 1972.
Okay, so now we know the fight is real because William Chung said so. How he knows it, no one knows. And because let's just look at Bruce's body and Chuck Norris's body. So obviously they had a fight.
It happened.
So you see, you could tell that he...
Well, you can tell because there's like handprints still on Bruce's body from that fight, and it stayed there.
Yeah, but
That's
what
the
I mean
proof.
is, what you can tell is by the end of the video, he's petering out on stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have a coherent story to say that they really fought. Oh, William Chung said it. Okay. Well, how can you tell? Well, look at their bodies. All right, like it's like by the end, he's like, if you've stuck around for 11 minutes, he's already made his money on YouTube. He gives zero fucks. He might as well just be going at this point in the video.
Right.
No one stuck around. He's already made his money. I thought we were going to be able to review more of these videos, but we got through one.
You got through one.
Okay. Now, although it seems kind of like people kind of like these when we do this sometimes, it's not just to make fun of the guy because he doesn't even show his face. Who the hell? He's just a YouTube like content maker. He's not a Bruce Lee expert. No one is Wing Chun Illustrated, the Lee Estate. No one is going to Bruce Lee real fight like, hey, can you give us your take on something? He's not a source of anything. He's an aggregator of other people's information and a purveyor of bullshit, right?
Okay.
But the reason why I think it is important to do these videos, like what we did with the bearded one, it's important to call out this kind of stuff because otherwise these big videos with 4 million views, these are going to be the things that people refer to. But two, it also gives us a good conversation because here he had 10 data points and we could say, okay, there's maybe some truth in here. This is fake. Or maybe it's kind of a real story, but it's not really a fight, or this is completely fucking made up or whatever. And that is
just dissection.
Yeah. So it does give us the opportunity to make real content out of this guy's fake bullshit content. And that's all I got to say about that. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Kung Fu Genius. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the Kung Fu Genius. Hit that bell for notifications. Let us know if you like this kind of content. Support us on Patreon or here through YouTube memberships. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
Word is I'm a kung fu genius. Technique speaks for me, not lineage. Forget Jet Li, cause I'm the one. Many call me seafood, but to you I'm Seagung. And I produce masters. You surpassed us. Your kung fu stiffer than corpse and caskets. City Wing Chun is the house I built. Violate the gate and your blood gets spilled. Alex, Richter, always the victor.
Clap. Fantastical.
Wrapped in plastical.